Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching at. Welcome to Unscripted with Lwando, and we're on episode number 3. And in today's episode, I actually wanted to touch on, in terms of the conversations that I'm having on education, where it includes both basic and also higher education. Where I can then share my views basically on what I think about it. But first of all, is education good? Obviously, yes, education is really good, and it's actually quite important for to build a better society. Again, but there are also some things that I believe that are actually missing when it comes to our education system, especially if you're in South Africa. So I'm going to touch first on basic education and then move on also into the higher education space. One thing that I actually notice, especially when it comes to the basic education space, a lot, especially when you see the ministers will come every January where they're going to be like, oh, yay, we achieved these great numbers. And then I always ask the question, is it about actually the quantity or the quality of the education? And is there any research basically that follows the students? So for example, you look at today, it's 2025, the intake of 2025. If you look at it like from 12 years from now, how many people actually were dropped out of the system throughout those years? And what actually happened literally to those students who were dropped out by the system? And do we actually ask questions as to why did they drop out in the first place? Because again, there's a multitude of things that I believe where we lose students along the way. But at times, whenever I hear those marks being announced every January by the Minister of Basic Education, they're always happy about the numbers are growing. But then the questions that I'm asking, and I'm sure quite a lot of people actually are asking, as to, is it the true numbers? Literally, if you say like, okay, there was a growth, like an exponential growth, does it actually represent that particular grade? Where also, again, is our education system also very outdated? By that I mean, like, students are being taught things that were taught to our parents 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And in today's world, we live in the world of, again, technology and AI. But how many schools actually, or how many schools programs do you ever see focusing on that aspect of life? You do see it actually in private schools and also some very wealthy schools where they introduce children, for example, to coding and computers, game building, and all those things, all from a very young age. Whereas if you come from the township schools or very schools which come from disadvantaged backgrounds, you will still rely on 2D textbooks, where you expect a student to read and understand the textbook, because the teacher, first of all, is teaching 50 to 80 students in one class. And this is for basic education. And somehow we assume that the teacher will wait for all the students to catch up with the syllabus, whereas the syllabus is also moving. And another thing actually that we hardly talk about is the amount of admin. Teachers now, this is actually, again, it's coming from experience from my friends who are teachers, where they're saying there's quite a lot of admin work that has to be done now by teachers, rather than them planning about English, rather than them literally planning for their classes. So then it makes me wonder, then how do we expect students to become the best if the teachers are always stressed about all the admin work that they have to do Then we think about how come government and even private sector, for me, I believe they can actually do quite a lot of work by supporting the admin side of things, where they can actually help the schools to employ people who deal with admins that you as a teacher, you only deal with teaching. I remember for me growing up, I went to Siviseni Intermediate School. I actually want to do a full episode, but actually on the road, about that school, Siviseni Intermediate School, because teachers there, they cared a lot. Teachers there, they made us believe that we were the best, like literally we are the best. And they used to make us shout that, yeah, Siviseni Intermediate School, the best school south of the Zambezi River. And we believe that, and I still believe that. And when I look at now all the people that were around me that time, where they are in life, they're doing big things. Because again, it's all these teachings. I mean, you have the likes of Usia, Dr. Mwanda, now who's currently at NMU. Then you have Nozibele Mayaba. She's also doing big in a field. And yeah, there's literally a number of my friends actually who are just way out there in life, who are doing great things. Some of them actually, I don't know where they currently are, but I know they're doing big things. All because, again, this school, the teachers there cared, and the teachers there had all the time. I mean, like, you'll be taught during class, and then afterwards, after school, they always there also with after school programs, to keep our minds fresh. They used to have all these reading competitions. And I mean, even my friend Utandiswa, she used to win all these Reader of the Month competitions on how many books one can read. Think about that, like young children today, where you hear stats of children in grade 7, some starting even grade 8, but with grade 3 reading literacy, and you're like, what happened? What went wrong? So yeah, there's that whole thing again, where we also live in a society where to this day, again, we're still focusing all our energy on STEM education, where we look at like your science, technology, and engineering education, where we forget about the students, the arts, the people who actually do all the stuff outside, and we are struggling in this day and age with job creation. But then we realize that actually there are we always teach students actually to become workers. We never teach students, actually encourage them to all become entrepreneurs, where they actually get to, do job openings. When you go to like model schools, you'll see like primary schools where they have business, like for example, entrepreneur days, where students must come up with their ideas. Like, I mean, a 10-year-old must come up with a business idea and they must sell to like their high school counterpart. And you're like, yo, this is actually a great idea that could work if actually all the schools can be encouraged to do that. I know quite a lot of people that I grew up with where academically on paper, they're not really good. But if you were to give this person like a TV remote or anything, they will tell you like a circuit board. They know how it works. They just don't know how to put it on pen and paper. Then now I'm also again jumping a bit again towards the higher education side of things, where we again always look down on vocational, was it called vocational? Yeah, there's like vocational education. There goes the coughing again. So vocational education basically on schools where it's all about practicality. There was a program in the city of Gqeberha, I think it still exists, at ETC, East Cape Training Center, which actually people look down upon. And I'm like, for me, this is actually a gold mine that people can actually dig. What, from my understanding from outside, what the school does. And I think also another, what you call was it EF? No, not EFT. See, this is what happens when you unscripted things. What do you call this thing? So not the universities, the VET, what? Okay, you know basically what I'm talking about. But I'm looking at again, by basing it on in Gqeberha, like places like in Khaya, where we have students, for example, who are good doing engineering. They're not really good again when you put them, what you call this thing, pen on paper. But take them and then you give them a car. They know how to break down an engine. They will tell you everything about an engine, but they just can't write about it. Why can't we then get certifications for these people? Where, I mean, you had the likes of Black Coffee, where he talked about his, the school that he wanted to start. And as part of the exams, as a student, if you're a singer, it's actually a big performance. That's your exam. And whereas here, what we can do, we can actually have, like for example, a student who's good with plumbing. It's actually them, you give them a project that has to do with plumbing, a plumbing project. And if they can pass it without actually writing something, but something that is practical, then they get some sort of certification so that when they go and apply for jobs, or also when they open their own companies, they are backed up, that they know what they're doing. All they need is just that certification. And I always ask the question, then why are we looking down like on these vocational schools? Because for me, they are great. They are doing something really good because they teach people all the practical things. I mean, if someone there is doing engineering, what's called civil engineering, where I think like your second and third year, you based actually in a company, you building the experience as you go along. Like for me, that's like, again, I'm saying this is a gold mine because we too focused on universities that, we all need to go to university. Unfortunately, not everyone can go to universities. I mean, in South Africa, we don't even have enough universities for all the students. I mean, if you look again, going back to that thing of matric results, the number of students who are actually passing matric enough to get to university, but there's not enough spaces for them in our current universities because, again, the output from the universities, sometimes it's taking longer because some students will change programs in between. So this means they're not leaving the universities, so they're still there. Now, while there's also people who are trying to come in. Whereas we have these vocational schools, but it's because of the whole stigma where we look down upon these schools, and I'm like, why? Why are we looking down on these schools? Because they are, again, I'm saying, they are landmines. According to my understanding, for me, if you want to be an academic, or you want, for example, you want a career that is very education heavy, like I understand about, again, for things like your commerce courses, like your accounting, your actual sciences, and also some courses like, for example, your law, etc. Then a university, I understand a university degree, but there's some courses where I believe you are better off in a vocational school. And again, those vocational universities where TVET college, yes, the word just came back, it's TVET colleges. Yeah, TVET colleges actually, one for me, I believe they're actually a very important structure in the South African context because there you get like all the practical experience, but I wish they could change it in a way that you can get people who are skillful. So like you get these guys, for example, think of those guys who work in constructions. If this person, like your uncle or your brother, dropped out of school, for example, in grade 10 or 10th grade, then what could happen is that if they've been in construction for like at least 5 years, they need to get some sort of certification, that they know what they're doing. That way, when they're looking for jobs or they even again starting their companies, they can have paperwork behind them, to say that, okay, so and so is skilled in this thing. Because this thing of having, we live in a world where there's no paperwork, or there's no paper trail. If we can teach, like, especially all the students, again, change, okay, because again, when scripted, I'm rambling, like where we can look at, for example, like subjects like the life orientation subject, where for me, I don't think it doesn't do what it's actually supposed to do. Teaching about kids about intimacy and all these things doesn't really do its job that much for me, whereas I think it should actually be teaching you about actually how to navigate life orientation, where we can, like from a very young age, I'll make sure that all students in life orientation, including obviously with the EMS, the economics subject, that in life orientation, every student is taught on how to start at least the basics, starts of a business, how to start and run a small business, where we teach them also about the difference between wages and salaries, where we teach them about, again, being permanently employed and on contract work. Because you do get quite a lot of friends who would be on contract at a certain job, and to them they assume that they're actually employed permanently to build a certain building, and now once that building is finished, then people are out there, they are protesting as to what happened to my job, why am I losing my job? But again, there was a whole contract thing. But again, if we can formalize those things to make sure that people are protected, people are educated, and again, with life orientation, make sure, one of the ideas for me that I have, even though I'm sure no one actually in the education sector will actually watch any of these videos, but what I believe is the fact that in life orientation, my belief is that every student, when you finish matric, each student should have a bank account. This is where again you can work with private sector and bankings. Not just have a bank account, but life orientation, as it teaches you about business, it also teaches you financial literacy. See, this is what happens when things are unscripted, or when you are when you're trying out to use like your professional camera alone, you get technical glitches like now, where I was talking, I think, for like about 20 minutes. No, for 10 minutes. I want to find out this thing stopped recording because I need to figure out actually on my camera how to put on the tele lights. So I can see if it's recording or not. But coming back again to life orientation, where I believe that, again, after obviously having a bank account, is that every student actually should, before you leave the university, before you leave matric, you should not only have a learner's license for driving, but you actually have a full license from a reputable licensing center, obviously, to make sure that at least all the basic skills that are needed, especially in the job market, are there for like these students. Because again, we need to make sure that we equip each other. Because thing about it is that it goes back to that thing that it's almost like you are planting a seed, like just throwing a seed in the ground without actually not knowing actually that the birds are going to come there and actually eat your seeds or some bugs. Whereas when you plant a seed, actually you need to actually, if you ask a farmer, people who know farming, I know nothing about farming, but I know that you need to plow the ground, you need to prepare the ground, you need to make sure that the seed is sitting nicely, and then you need to fertilize it, you need to water it and nurture it almost every day. so that come harvest time, at least you'll be harvesting great things. That's actually what we also need when it comes to our education system, is that we need to make sure that our basic education, first of all, does fit the future. It actually, students actually get to learn quite a lot. Again, one thing that we need to sort of also understand when it comes to education is that people are different, people are unique. Not everyone is going to be a what you call a great engineer, great scientist. Yes, we need quite a lot of those people and doctors, but we also need quite a lot of people with different skills too. We need, like when we saw when the pandemic happened, how much we need people in the arts, not just only to entertain, but also again to keep people educated, where they actually you get to see the world in a different light, rather than what you always see every day. So that when you see that, for example, a child has a talent for something, I always believe we as parents, we need to also nurture that. If you see that your child is good at sports, don't just say, what will sport do to you? Blah, 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 blah. Also, again, do not overpressure your kids. Unfortunately, not all your kids will be the Sia Colises of the world, but they are something that they're good at. But make sure that actually you are that person that waters and also guide them. Again, if you know anything about people who do farming, there's actually quite a lot. You can actually quite a lot from them, where you do things. For example, when a tree, you want to guide a tree to grow up straight, you put a pole and then you tie it around so that you guide it so that it grows. Like even with the ivy plants. And sometimes we actually need to do what's called grafting, where you take two different plants to make something great. So one of the examples I can think of is that like when I talk to my friends, they'll be like, I'll never allow my child to be a rapper. Like rappers are like not all of them will become successful. But then I'm like, okay, what if then if your child wants to become a musician, you let them go study music, but then you also give them the business side of things on how they can maximize on that. You could have tried something, like you could have tried many times and failed, like on one career path. But if your child then also wants to follow that career path, please don't be that person who's like, no, it's never gonna work. I've tried it so many times. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, you've tried it, but never kill the child's dream. They might come and try this thing in a whole different light, and they'll become even much more successful about it. Again, in this world, because we need to be there for each other, we need to pick up each other. As I was, okay. I'm hearing a whistling sound. That's the Airbus A320. It's either Lift or SAA. Sorry, I get distracted whenever I hear planes around. So, yeah, we just need to be more practice humanity. Basically, that's what I would like to say. Where we're becoming more empathetic around each other, and we just what you call this thing, uplift each other. There's no point, like we're so selfish in this day and age that it's all about me, me, me. How much money can I make? There's a whole race now on who can be the richest man in the world. Like, what's the point of being then saying that you're a trillionaire if you're not helping the community, or you're not helping everyone else around you to uplift them? Because for me, I believe I'd rather be a millionaire than knowing that we're all millionaires. Rather, because what am I going to do with all of that? Like, it's like too much wastage. Yeah. Okay, now this is me rambling or something. Because I always get pissed off like when you hear like things like that, and I hope I actually never become a person like that where it's all about me, 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 and not care about uplifting other people that are coming behind me. So I need to check again because I had a card failure. So I'm not sure how far whether I've spoken about it, where I was saying there, for an example, other programs where, for me, programs like Ilifa Labandwana, the Digimare Trust, where my friend works, they're doing great things there. Like some of the programs actually something that I'm very passionate about that they run, where that you never leave any child behind. No child should be left behind. It boils down to actually when I started this whole video that, we have the government celebrating, oh, we've achieved like so many, like we've percentages of pass rates have moved up, but we like how many kids actually fell through. That's what for me I'm more interested in, is how can we make sure that we don't have people who are falling through the cracks. Even if they do, how do we then bring them back up again? So that is literally for me my belief when it comes to the education system, is that it needs to be much more flexible in this day and age, that we are unique beings. Not everyone who's going to be doing the exact same thing. So that's why I'm also excited about the world that we live in, in the fourth industrial revolution, because it's no longer coming. It's been here actually. That we live in the world of AI, the world of like the information is all out there. Is how can we then make sure that the information that is all out there, that everyone, especially if we look in South Africa, the continent of Africa, even also around the world, that everyone has access to this information. I believe then we'll be much better place compared to what's currently happening now around the world, where we're hurting each other. Because again, it's all about me, 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 but we never think about how other people are living. But yeah, I don't want to make this again too long in case it fails again. I think I'm going to go back again to my small camera, because I was trying to check out how this quality looks like. But yeah, actually what I'd like to actually hear from you, wherever you are, if you're watching this video, if you're outside of South Africa, like I want to hear about what do you think about your current education system? And what's working and what actually could work better. I want to actually get this conversation going. And for you, how's it been? And if you're in South Africa, what are your thoughts about the TVET colleges? Because I'd like to hear from that, because we have a class of 2025 matriculants actually, who I think I just finished writing now. And also I'm about to write, not my matric, my exams for my postgraduate, but I just want to say that don't look down on TVET colleges. For me, we need those TVET colleges. We need to fill those TVET colleges. Also, the output of the education that you get there must be great, like that it uplifts this country to new heights. We also need more training centers for certification of people, so that everyone gets, because I'm sure no one is just sitting out there. Yes, we might have a whole drinking problem and partying problem in SA, but we have a lot of people who are actually skilled who are sitting in those places, but because they don't have certifications, they're not getting anywhere. But we actually now need to take that responsibility and make sure that we get these people out and that we succeed. Because I still believe, as this country, that we have a huge potential, not just to be rich, but to be a great society, that the likes of like your Nelson Mandela dreamed about. That it's something that we can also dream about. That, don't just look at the one person and because they look a certain different way from you, and then you start discriminating. We just need to love each other. Yeah, they say, let's not KILL each other, but let's uplift each other. Let's love the world and make love in. Oh yeah, but love. Let's love each other. But anyway, This has been Unscripted with Lwando, episode number 3. Yeah, so now I'll see you on episode number 4. Please make sure, actually, if you like this kind of content, you're still here around this time, that you share this content on other platforms like your TikTok or your Facebook with your friends, if it does actually uplifting to them, or it actually has value to them. And yeah, if you want to actually to see more, I'll be trying posting here on a much regular basis. Is to make sure that actually you subscribe. Yeah, below. And yeah, I'll see you then on the next one. This has been Unscripted with Lwando. Bye bye.